Welcome back to Carolina Journal Radio. I'm Mitch Kokai. You've probably heard of Brexit, the long-discussed split of Great Britain from the European Union. Have you heard about BLEXIT? Well, if not, you'll want to listen to our next guest. Danielle Robinson is North Carolina's State Director for BLEXIT. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Mitch. I'm happy to be here.
So first of all, what is BLEXIT?
Okay, well, BLEXIT, hence the name, is the Black exit from the Democratic Party. That's how our organization started, and the founder was Candace Owens. She started with a YouTube series that exploded on the scene called Red Pill Black, and that kind of birthed the movement of BLEXIT, which was in the form of Brexit. The idea was if the British are making their exit, then the blacks, we need to make our exit from core values that no longer are in line with what we believe.
You mentioned Red Pill. I'm guessing this is a reference to the Matrix and the characters in the Matrix sort of
the Red Pill Black.
Figuring out what the real world was.
Yeah, if you guys check it out, it's really dynamic because when she took that lead of saying, hey, what's going on here with the black community and how we vote and what our values are, it was really kind of like groundbreaking. It's what drew me in as well.
What is it about the message that the community has been receiving from the Democratic Party that makes you think that it's time to have an exit, a BLEXIT from the Democratic Party?
Yeah, it's a great question, Mick. So the idea is with the fact that black people, we are increasing in our property ownership. We're increasing in the number of college graduates. We are increasing in our small business property ownership, even legal gun ownership. And also the fact that for many of us, our Christian values are still important to us. When we took a look at that, we started realizing, or it became readily apparent, that the left no longer stood for those values that were traditionally important to us or where black people were going. So they no longer represented that, and it was time to go.
You mentioned that Candace Owens was the first person who really got this ball rolling. Now it has come to North Carolina. We mentioned at the top, you are the North Carolina State Director, so there are more than just you, a number of people in North Carolina who are interested in this. Tell us about that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's something really to be proud of because pretty much North Carolina is leading the way when it comes to this black exit. And the idea behind it is pretty much, with the left no longer representing our values, it's still for over the last 30 years, they could count on 80% of our vote. So the question became, why is that? And it's because we didn't realize that we were stuck in a pattern. We never did a reconciliation. We never did sort of like a systems check to say for who we are right now and where we're going, does this line up? So the fact that, North Carolina BLEXIT is starting here, we're leading that charge. And I like to think of it as, with the way the left engaged us, think of it sort of like a Super Bowl commercial. All hype, no substance. Their principles, they are increasingly poor. They have an increasingly poor product, and pretty much the black community is no longer buying. So to have North Carolina kind of lead that, it's a really big deal because in our community, this is pretty much the equivalent of a revolution.
We are chatting with Danielle Robinson, who is North Carolina State Director for BLEXIT. So we get the point. It's the black exit from the Democratic Party. What's next? I mean, I'm guessing some people are saying, so are they all going to now jump to the Republican Party, or is it a case of now weighing your options? Okay,
so the key thing that we are looking to do with BLEXIT is actually create more civically informed people. And when I kind of mentioned the Super Bowl, it's the idea that, the left always engaged us with propaganda, never any facts. They never said, okay, let's take a look at how these policies have affected our community. And BLEXIT is going to really shed light on that because we're going to put the propaganda aside. And then what we're also going to do is give a fair approach to, conservative values that black people tend to have inherently, Right. So it's the idea that, on one hand, we've traditionally voted, Democratic without thinking. but at the same time, we've not had anyone kind of give a safe space to just kind of have us look at our values and see where our values line up. And I think one thing right now with the extremes that we find our society on, we need someone that just can kind of say, and which our organization will do, here, take a list here, look at your values, look at what's important to you. And if you find yourself not in alignment with what you believe is important, there's a safe space to break away. And that's what we're trying to encourage. So we're excited about the rallies that we're having. We're excited about the educational programs that we're having. We're excited to just have the forums of, being able to ask the questions of how do we do this? How do we see if, we need to switch who we support or what we represent or where we're going. That's the community. That's the conversation that BLEXIT is creating the safe space to kind of have.
Sounds as if you and others who are working on this want to get a lot of good information before you make decisions rather than just say, we're going to vote for this party or we're going to switch our allegiances and vote for the other party. We want to know what both parties or all parties stand for before we give anyone our allegiance.
Yeah, very much so. Because if you pretty much look at it, even right now with the idea of fake news, it's pretty much an information war. It's how do we get the information to people in a way that aids them to make a decision without the bias. Our community has been, it's just like, every time there's, visits to our churches or visits to our communities, it's just like a flyer, something put up on the door, vote this way. Well, why? Does it benefit me? No one has stopped to ever, create the space for us to engage in those conversations. It's always been, do this because we've always done it. And right now, BLEXIT is kind of pulling people back from that and say, we have the information to help you make those decisions. And when you make those decisions and find out that it wasn't what you thought, there's a whole community of people that have broken away and made that shift. And we're here to kind of encourage you and support you through it.
Sounds as if your group is willing to do some work to learn more about the issues, but also anyone who's trying to approach your group to get their support is going to have to work hard in terms of providing accurate information. This is not going to be an easy thing. Anyone who's going to be taking part in this is going to have to work hard to show that they have the right answers.
That's right. On both sides, it's work. It's work because, and even one of the reasons why, as BLEXIT, we appreciate the John Locke Foundation, because right now we want to take good research and data and get that in the hands of our community. That's not always been done or even ever been done. It's always been slants that have been, prioritized towards, we talk a lot about identity politics in the news. We talk a lot about things that when you think about it, we don't get the facts behind it before we're pushed to vote for it. So we're getting this information out. People are partnering with us to get the good information out, to have the forums and the community events, even school choice. Like, I think a lot of people do not even realize that within the Black community, educating our children is so important, and the qualities, like, what do we even value when it comes to what our children are learning in school and the choices they have? That's very inherently important to us, but there's not been that space without the propaganda behind it to try to say, how do we feel, what do we want, and how can we move forward?
In just a bit, we're going to find out how people can learn more about BLEXIT. But first of all, we want to turn briefly to a big event that you have coming up in Charlotte. Tell us about that.
That is our BLEXIT Charlotte rally, and we're really excited about that. We've got a host of speakers that are just heavy hitters. We've got Candace Owens, we've got Larry Elder, we've got some of our state representatives that are going to be there. And what's key about the BLEXIT rally is you get to hear the message as it evolves. So it began with, Candace Owens and her journey from going left to right with the red pill. Now you get to see how, our message to kind of like engage our community in a way that makes them more civic. So you can come out to Charlotte. It's January 19th from 4 to 7 p.m. That is a Sunday. Kind of hear the speakers, hear the message, kind of feel the energy of what we're doing, because it's a really exciting time to kind of have, our community separate from us being, traditionally towards the left. It's not an easy thing to do. But those of us that are helping to do the work to find out, and it's possible that some people will come to the organization and find out, I think my beliefs do align with the left, and that's fine. That's okay. That's what we're here to do, but we're here to help you think about it and figure out if that's what you want. So come to the rally. It is going to be great.
And if people would like to learn more about the rally, or if they'd just like to learn more about BLEXIT, what's the best thing for them to do?
Well, definitely you can engage with us on our Facebook page, which is North Carolina BLEXIT, and that's spelled BLEXIT. And then also on our website. If you, know some people that, are looking for that safe space to find out their values, definitely, guide them to our website as well. And then those who want to support us, that want to help fund us or help us, get the message out, we welcome that as well. It's big work that we're going to do, but North Carolina is up to it, and definitely those of us here of the BLEXIT movement in North Carolina, we are charged for it. North Carolina is the first in the U.S. That is a big deal that we're leading the charge on that. So we're excited.
And your website address again?
www.ncblexit.com.
That is the voice of Danielle Robinson. She is North Carolina State Director for BLEXIT. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much.